Welcome to the 360 Sports Network Sports Break. I'm James Dawson, here to bring us some updates on the past 48 hours in the NFL world is our colleagues of Alex DeLaverson and Greg Bichero. How's it going out there, gentlemen?
Oh, it's not too bad down here in sunny. Actually, it's now quiet Jacksonville right now. Everybody's a little bit in shock and awe over the recent developments that have just happened down here. David Garrard's being released.
I'm doing well. I'm just happy to be back in the Keystone State, as I did have fun covering the Panther-Steeler game. I've been covering Penn State and recently what's been going on in the NFL. So things have been interesting, to say the least.
Oh, that's for sure. We've had lots of major developments from, like you said, Greg, down there with the Jacksonville releasing of David Garrard to the injury-prone Giants. But let's start with probably the biggest topic for one of the biggest names in the game, in Peyton Manning. He is now being listed as questionable to doubtful whether he will even be able to play in Week 1. What are we hearing about that, gentlemen?
Well, Peyton Manning right now, from what I understand, and this is from a source close to the family, is stating that he is not fully recovered from his neck surgery and that he is actually having some back problems as well as some upper arm strength problems. And they're saying that it is extremely doubtful that he'll be able to play in Week 1 and that it may take up to 4 weeks for him to be able to be fully recovered from his neck surgery in order to play. So this actually puts a giant wrinkle right now, especially into people who drafted Peyton Manning in their fantasy football drafts. And I think there was a true reason why they brought Gary Collins in, and this is the reason.
Alex, what do you think the major impact of the Manning injury is going to be?
Well, obviously, yeah, it's going to impact fantasy owners a lot for those that drafted him pretty high. But also, let's not forget about owners of Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark. Their stock goes down too, especially for leagues who haven't drafted yet. If Manning's out for an extended period of time, it is an issue. If he's only out for a game or two, it's not too bad. But let's say Manning is out for an extended period of time. The Colts aren't a team without Manning to contend in their division. I really don't see how Kerry Collins is going to lead that team to a division title or even just get through the first 6 games. So if I'm a Colts fan and if Manning is out for a while, I'm very alarmed.
It could be a very long season for such a team that has been doing so well out there in Indianapolis. Greg, down there in Jacksonville, the new release of David Garrard, and they're naming Luke McCown as the starting quarterback? What's going on down there?
Well, this is everybody down here in Jacksonville. The fans are just in complete shock. Nobody can quite understand what happened. Basically, it was David Garrard's job to lose, and that's what he did. He basically lost it with his subpar performance during the preseason. What was interesting to note is about 2 weeks prior to this, he was named the starting quarterback. So with all this that came to fruition, I really believe it came down to a salary issue where he had $8 million that was supposedly guaranteed to him, and they just figured that it's better for them to basically release him and to put Luke McCown because the future of the Jacksonville Jaguars organization is in Blaine Gabbert.
The future may be in Gabbert, but then why not have him be the starter? Why Luke McCown? And Alex, I don't know, why would they decide here just last minute to make David Garrard to be one on your cut list? What do you think their reasoning is?
Well, I mean, I don't agree with that. I don't know why you would release David Garrard, even if he isn't playing that well in the preseason. He still has some experience. I think it was only 2 or 3 years ago that he led the Jaguars over a win against the Steelers in the playoffs. But I think an even more interesting point is, where could he end up? Does he want to go to a contender and be a backup, or does he want to go somewhere to start, say Miami or San Francisco, or does he want to be a backup for a team like Baltimore? So to me, that's the more interesting story.
Yeah, who knows? Have you heard anything down there, Greg, where he might end up?
Well, I mean, there is stuff that he might end up with the Dolphins. The Dolphins are very thin at the quarterback ranks. Garrard has been quoted as stating that he wants to be a starter wherever he goes. And granted, this guy had a fantastic season a couple of years ago, and his numbers have not been outstanding, but they've certainly been above average as far as being a quarterback's concerned. So there's still a lot of upside, and I still think there's a lot of fuel in the tank for David Garrard. The reason why it came down to Garrard being released, though, is they felt that, hey, we have Luke McCown, who's a bargain right now, and they're just basically keeping the seat warm until Blaine Gabbert is ready to roll. Blaine Gabbert will start for the Jacksonville Jaguars, probably come week 4 or week 5 of the season.
Let's hope that Blaine Gabbert, for Jacksonville fans, is the quarterback of the future and he can come up strong. Well, for our final big news story of the day, Greg, your New York Giants defense, which you've been so high on, might as well be renamed to New York General Hospital Giants with all their injuries. Jonathan Goff out for the whole season with a torn ACL. Osi Umenyiora and Justin Tuck have had lingering injuries. What's going on? Are they going to have a defense to even put on the field?
You know, and that's the biggest fear up there in the Big Apple right now. I mean, after they got over the remnants of Hurricane Irene, you know, and all the flooding, now all of a sudden they're looking at it like, God, we have no secondary, we have no linebacking core. What is going on here? The Giants, if you own the New York Giants in a fantasy football league, you definitely need to say, hey, I need to find another defense. I would drop them and find somebody pretty quick here. It's going to be a wait-and-see type thing with the New York Giants. If they can come out swinging and be a decent defense in week 1 and week 2 of the season, then we'll see how well they are. But this is a team that's definitely not very deep at all. This recent injury to Goff is it's not pretty. It's going to be very difficult, especially with the lackluster performance that Eli Manning's been putting up. For offense, as far as offensive numbers go, they can't rely on the defense to keep them in the games. This could be a very bad season for the New York Football Giants.
No, I agree. Alex, what do you think? What do you think all these injuries mean for the defense, for the team as a whole, and maybe even for Tom Coughlin's job?
Well, I think Greg said it best. He hit the nail on the head with everything. The thing is, look who they're playing in the division. The Eagles, Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson, Cowboys with Tony Romo, Miles Austin. If they don't get that defense together, they're going to find themselves in a very, very big hole. And it doesn't even look like right now they're going to be able to compete in the division. As far as Tom Coughlin's security, even though he won the Super Bowl about 4 years back, I mean, he has to be a little nervous. He hasn't really impressed much. He didn't make the playoffs last year. So there's nothing really I can say other than they need to get that situation figured out pretty quickly, or Coughlin's going to be gone.
Well, and I think we might be in for a little surprise, though, week 1. They're playing the Redskins, who have just named Rex Grossman as their starting quarterback. And I've never been a Grossman fan, and I think even against second-string Giants defensive players, we could still see a 4 or 5 interception day out of our main man, Rex. That wraps everything up here for this edition of the 3SN Sports Break. Alex, Greg, thanks for joining in, and we shall be talking to you soon, so keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm high and drunk doing my same dance. They call it